Hello you lot, Miller Corner here, welcome back to Secondhand Superheroes, the series that shows you how to get the same experience as your dream car but on a much more affordable price bracket. And today we're focusing on a car which, if you follow me on Twitter, if not why not, at Miller_Corner, you'll know that I've had a recent obsession with, and that is the brand new 2019 Suzuki Jimny. From the moment I laid eyes on the new Jimny, I fell in love with it. I think it perfectly combines retro and modern styling in a kind of Jeep Wrangler meets Mercedes G Wagon type way, and is a perfect way to bring out a new generation of Jimny. What's more, as we can see here on first impressions, it's apparently going to be epic off-road as the old one was, and at a price estimated between £14,000 and £15,000 when it comes to the UK. It's also going to be a bit of a comparative bargain on the brand new market. Make no mistake, 14 or 15 grand for a brand new off-roader is a great deal. But of course, for most of us, 14 to 15 grand is still a hell of a lot of money to put down on a car. So today I'm going to show you 3 cars which give you similar off-road experience to what the new Jimny is going to deliver, but for around a tenth of its estimated 15 grand price tag. So if you want to go off-road but you haven't got much money, here are the cars you need to be looking at. Similar to how I recommended the old Civic Type R as a budget alternative to the new Civic Type R in Secondhand Superheroes episode 1, the first secondhand alternative to the new Suzuki Jimny is the old Suzuki Jimny. But trust me when I say it's a worthy alternative. The old Jimny has been around in one form or another for almost 20 years now, and in that time that single generation has become iconic, and for a very good reason. The old Jimny was brilliant off-road. It's a genuinely capable little car. It weighs around a ton, so it hasn't got much weight to hold it back, and because of its short wheelbase and extremely good approach and departure angles, it will go pretty well anywhere, and you don't even have to be a very good off-road driver to make it do that. As Autocar proved a few years ago, it'll even take on and beat a Land Rover Defender in some instances. That's because whilst the Defender might be good off-road, it's also incredibly heavy, but the same cannot be said for the Jimny, which is why it only needs a 1.3 litre engine to go basically anywhere. The Jimny isn't the most refined thing in the world. It doesn't like cruising at much above 60 miles an hour. It's far from comfortable, and there is almost nothing in the way of creature comforts. But that said, what you lose in road capability, it more than makes up for by being truly brilliant off-road. If you are looking to buy an older shaped Jimny, you can expect to pay somewhere around £1,500 for a good one, but there are a few things to look out for. For a start is rust, particularly behind and underneath the headlights, on the sills underneath the covers, on the boot floors, and under the rear axle radius arm brackets. These are all points which, if you're buying a Jimny, you should check for rust, because as we know, once rust starts, it is unstoppable. So buy one that has minimal or no rust to begin with, and it will love you long time. Post 2005 cars with the VVT engines had an updated gearbox, and those gearboxes are prone to failure. What's more, when they do fail, they're both expensive and extremely difficult to track down. So personally, I'd stick to pre-2005 cars to get the more durable, if slightly less powerful engine and gearbox combination. Finally, the Jimny uses kingpins in the front axles, and these are very much prone to fatigue, even with relatively low miles on the car. If there's severe steering wobble above about 40 or 45 miles an hour, it's a sign that the kingpin bearings are worn out. A handy DIY mechanic can do the job in 4 to 5 hours to change them completely, but if you don't have the time, the knowledge or facilities to do them yourself, it's going to be a fairly hefty garage bill, so either negotiate it off the price or look elsewhere. But if you buy a good one, the first generation Suzuki Jimny is an epic off-roader for less than 1,500 quid. Next up is the car that we know in the UK as the Mitsubishi Shogun, but which was known as the Pajero in some parts of the world and the Montero in other parts. It's called the Pajero in Japan, but the reason it wasn't called a Pajero in most other countries is because in Spanish, Pajero roughly translates in slang as wanker. Yes? Really. Anyway, moving on from that, the Shogun is a car that I've actually got a personal affinity with because my family owns 2 of them, so I can tell you firsthand quite what a brilliant car these are. For a start, owing to their square body shape, they are hugely practical. Take out the 6th and 7th seats in the boot if you don't need them, and it's got a huge load capacity. What's more, seats 1 through 5 are massively spacious and hugely comfortable. There's also a decent level of equipment for a car of that age, including air conditioning, electric windows all round, and electric mirrors on some models. They're just generally a very well equipped and hugely comfortable and practical family wagon. Then there's their off-roading ability. Shoguns have got a proper transfer box with high and low range, locking differentials, excellent ride height, and a brilliant 4-wheel drive system, all of which results in some genuinely Land Rover challenging off-road ability. Shoguns have been cheap on the UK market for a very long time, so a lot of them have been abused off-road. For that reason, if you are looking at a used Shogun or Pajero, it's well worth taking your time to look at it properly. Check the 4-wheel drive works, check the diff, and check the transfer box and gearbox, because all of these are commonly abused if they're driven off-road badly. What's more, if any of them are broken or failing, they are quite pricey if fairly simple to replace. Chassis rust can eat Shoguns out as well, so again, check particularly the rear end of the car to make sure it's not crumbling away in your hands. If a Shogun is rusting, they're worth so little that rust repair just doesn't make economical sense, so buy one that is totally rust free if you're buying on the lower end financially. Don't just buy the first one you see, have a good look around. You can afford to be picky because these are not a rare or expensive car. In terms of engines, you can get a petrol V6, but don't. We owned one, and around town you won't even touch 20 miles to the gallon most of the time, and on the open road you really don't feel the benefit of the extra power. You want the 2.5 or 2.8 turbo diesel engines. They're old school, they're utterly bomb-proof, and they're good for 400,000 or 500,000 miles, and they get decent economy of around 25 to 30 mpg on a run. I do love the Shogun, but if, like me, a smaller car floats your boat a bit more, then here's a final second-hand superhero to consider. And you knew it wasn't going to take me long to get onto a Fiat. My final recommendation is the 2nd generation Panda 4x4, a car which I absolutely love. I think these are a really cool looking thing. They're kind of jacked up and beefier compared to the normal Panda hatchback, and they get a bit of extra ride height, some beefed up bumpers, and the addition obviously of a 4-wheel drive system. This is a 4-wheel drive system as is found in most small SUVs these days, in that it's mostly front wheel drive, but when it detects slip, the rear wheels kick in and are driven. The Panda's 4x4 system is genuinely brilliant and genuinely capable, so much so in fact that these are often compared to Land Rover Defenders and even Range Rovers as a way to go off-road and go wherever you want to. Unlike every other car I've mentioned today, you can get plenty of examples for well under £2,000. What's more, it's the most modern car on the list, and I don't think with some newer looking wheels on it, it would look out of place in any city centre. There are things to bear in mind with the Panda though. For a start, they come with a weedy 1.2 litre engine, which at best can get the car to 60 in around 17 or 18 seconds. For that reason, most Panda 4x4s you'll be looking at on the second-hand market will likely have been thrashed, because you do have to thrash them to get any kind of performance out of them. As a result, you should really try and buy the lowest mileage Panda you can possibly afford, because any of them will have been thrashed, but the less miles they've got, the less thrashing will have occurred. Small wheels on a heavy jacked up car do tend to get buckled quite easily, so if you are looking at a 4x4, check all of the rims and make sure they're not buckled, and if they are, negotiate the price of them out of the overall price. Finally, if you can, test drive the car on some grass or mud or even just a wet surface to try and kick the 4-wheel drive system in. If it's not working, it tends to go on a load of electronic sensors and some relatively complex mechanicals, which of course are going to be fairly difficult and quite pricey to fix, so for God's sake, make sure that the 4-wheel drive system is working. That said, the Panda 4x4 is a fantastically capable car off-road. I absolutely love them, and even just doing research for this video, I had to sorely fight temptation not to go out and buy one. The 2019 Jimny is a car I'm already in love with, and I can't wait to see them in the flesh and maybe even get my hands on one. But if you can't afford the estimated 15 grand for a brand new Jimny, here are 3 brilliant off-roader second-hand superheroes for around a tenth of the price. So what car do you want to see some second-hand superhero alternatives to next? Let me know in the comments, because I want to give you you the same experience as your dream car, but for a much cheaper price. Thanks so much for watching this video, everybody. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and also subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified when a new Miller Corner video is released. But for now, thanks once again for watching, everybody, and have a brilliant rest of your day. See you soon and have a good one.